So I keep getting recommended these videos and I was kind of confused because this looks like actual paint, but it's definitely digital because like, where's your hand, my guy? So I searched through the comments and I found out this artist uses a program called Rebelle 7.
If you're new to Rebelle 7,
but I've never heard of it before. So I looked into it and yeah, that's a price, all right. But it's actually on sale right now. I have no idea how long the sale is going to last, but it's been going on for a while now. But they also offer a free trial. So I want to see if it's worth paying the $15 for the pro version while it's on sale. So the first thing I noticed about this program is that with the free trial, you actually get to choose which version you want to try out each time you load it up. That way you can test out the default and the pro version within the same download, which is really neat. Some of the main features I was interested in was the metallic paints and this nanopixel technology thing, which are both pro features, so I had to test out the pro version. The trial is also pretty long, so you have plenty of time to figure out whether or not you want to pay for the program. The first thing I did was play around with all the different brushes. Apparently you can import custom brushes, but I think the default ones are pretty good, so I can't imagine importing any unless there was something really specific that you wanted to do. I wasn't sure what to draw, so I sketched a few things and eventually landed on drawing Klee. She's got a pretty simple and cute design, so I guess I just figured it was a safe option. For some reason though, I decided that this would be the drawing that I practiced the oil paints on. I have no idea why, because while I know how to do semi-realism, kinda, I guess, this is a really simple character with unrealistic proportions, which makes adding depth a little difficult. The hands are especially weird because I gave her these simple, like, 4-fingered hands. I didn't really achieve the look I was going for, and this took forever. I actually don't know what look I was going for. Like, I don't think I was trying to go for semi-realism, but at the same time I was using oil paints, and I feel like that's usually what you do with oil paints, and I don't know, this was kind of a mess. But this really shouldn't have taken me nearly 4 hours. But I was able to play with the metallic paints, which was really neat. If you have the nanopixel thing enabled, it actually lets the highlights on the metal move as you pan the camera around, which isn't really necessary since you're mostly going to be looking at the digital piece like this while it's still. But it's still cool to play with. I used it for the gold colored accents on Klee's hat. So I don't hate the way this turned out or anything, but I don't think the oil paints are my thing. I don't know what it is, but oil paints just seem easier to use in real life in my opinion. Now, the watercolor on the other hand, I actually really enjoyed using it, and I definitely prefer it to using watercolor in real life. Although it does work very realistically most of the time, which was actually kind of annoying because the colors would slowly spread if the paint was more wet. This can give a really cool effect to the color, but it's kind of annoying when you like the way something looked, go on to work on a different part of the drawing, and then you look back and realize what you just drew like 2 minutes ago looks completely different. The good thing is that you're able to dry the canvas with like a sponge, which unlike in real life, doesn't pick up color while drying the canvas, so you don't have to worry about losing any pigment. Also, you might have noticed that this time-lapse looks different than the previous one, and that's because there's an option to record within the program. I remember thinking Ibis Paint was like the best program ever because of this. This does it a little differently though, because I think it actually records everything that happens rather than recording like a snapshot every stroke or whatever edit you end up doing. I only noticed this because I saw how smooth it looked when I used the transform tool to move her arm when I was sketching. So I used watercolor for the majority of this, but near the end when I was starting to clean things up and adding some detail, I switched to a different brush. I think it was a pastel, but I added a lot of layers and strays and stuff to her hair, which I don't normally do. I'm not sure why I decided to do it here, but it was weirdly a lot of fun and I think it made the hair more interesting. Then I just cleaned some stuff up, added her bandage that I forgot, put some sparkles in her hair, and then I was done. I feel like the experience of painting with watercolors was a lot more fun and less frustrating. I didn't have to try so hard to layer and mix colors. I also learned while working on this drawing that this blending tool is probably the best blender in any drawing program I've used. I have so much trouble with the one in Photoshop. It's like this one just knows exactly what I'm trying to get it to do without having to mess with its settings too much. I don't know why, but I really like drawing Fluttershy. She's super cute, so that might explain it. But I figured I should try some different brushes, and I used her as the test subject. I wanted to do something a little closer to my usual style, which I didn't end up doing at all. I normally have a sketch and line art first, and then base colors underneath, but I ended up going for that no-line art style that I did for Klee. But this time, I used the express oils instead of the normal oils. It takes away the majority of the paint texture that comes with the normal oil paints, which makes it look really smooth and take on the texture of the paper underneath. I think I'm finding a nice middle ground between the oils and watercolor. It's a lot easier to control how the colors look this way as opposed to with the watercolors. This is probably my favorite thing I've drawn using Rebelle 7 so far. Okay, I'm a liar. This is my favorite thing I've drawn on here. I don't know what came over me, but it's like I gathered all my artistic abilities and just dumped them all into this one piece. I haven't played Genshin in a while, but I remember thinking Miko was one of the prettiest characters that I managed to pull, so I thought she'd be a great candidate. I remembered while working on this that there's an option called pigment color mixing that makes the color blending more accurate. So instead of getting muddied colors, there's more vibrant colors that you get when you mix two colors together. Apparently, this is especially obvious when trying to mix blue and yellow to get green, because when you're working digitally, it normally ends up looking kind of gray, but with this enabled, it's a lot more vibrant. I don't remember enabling Rebelle 7 to record the process, but I'm glad it did anyway because I completely forgot to record a huge chunk of the coloring process on OBS. Also, which do you prefer, the time-lapse on OBS or within the program itself? I think they're both good for different reasons, but I think the kind where the canvas is still and you can see everything is the type that's used to train AI to fake speed paints. So they're kinda iffy. Also, I find it so awkward to say the name of the program. Like, it's not weird to say Photoshop or Ibis Paint, but Rebelle 7, I don't know, it feels so weird. Even if you leave out the 7, it's still weird. Maybe I'm the weird one. Anyway, this took a really long time, like several days, but I really like how it looks. Obviously, there's some things I could improve about it, but I still really like it. I tried adding those shadows from the trees above, but I'm not very good at it. I've never done it before, so maybe I'll get better with some more practice. Well, is it worth the $15? Honestly, I think it is. It's very similar to Photoshop in terms of shortcuts and functionality, plus a bunch of cool extra stuff that makes it a little nicer. You can obviously add a textured overlay to Photoshop for a similar effect, but the thing that's cool about this is that it's like you're actually painting on a canvas or paper, and there's no color distortion from overlaying a texture on top of it like you might get in Photoshop. Plus, it's actually way cheaper, even without the discount, because it's a one-time purchase. It's a pretty high price, but Photoshop is $263 a year. A year! As in, you don't even get to own the app. You get to use it and pay a monthly subscription. This is $149 for a one-time purchase, which is still a lot of money, but the $15 is actually really reasonable. I have no idea how long this sale is gonna last, but if you're wanting a new art program that isn't gonna drain you of all your money, I think Rebelle 7 is a pretty good option, especially now while the sale is up. Also, you can actually save your files in Rebelle 7 as a PSD, so if there's something that you're trying to use your art for that requires a PSD, that is an option within Rebelle 7, so you don't need Photoshop to make a PSD. Even the $10 version is worth it if you don't mind missing out on some of the neat extra features. You can at least play around with the free trial since it lasts a pretty long time. I want to clarify, I am not being sponsored by Escape Motions who made this art program. I just recently found it and I think it's really cool and I want to share it with more people since I haven't seen a whole lot of people talking about it. Mostly Escape Motions themselves. But that's all I got. Take care of yourself and have fun drawing. Bye!